My son's camera monitor alerted in the middle of the night. I checked it and saw my wife and son sitting on the bed. But they weren't my wife and son. I'm a nurse and I currently work night shifts. It's a total drag, but I'm hopeful I can go to days soon, since some coworkers are planning retirement. Anyways, I was working one night when just after 3 a.m., my son's monitor alerted me to sound and movement. No big deal at all. He probably coughed loudly or sneezed or something like that. He's 3 years old now, so he generally sleeps all night long. I bring it up on my phone and I see him and my wife sitting on the bed. Again, no big deal. He might have cried out or gotten scared or something like that. I was about ready to close the app when I noticed there were some strange, almost creepy movements going on. And when I say almost creepy, I mean creepy as balls. They were sitting on the bed together, both of them, just staring up at the camera with blank, emotionless stares. The night vision is black and white, so they had white, eerie-looking eyes. They didn't move at all, aside from their visible breathing. They just sat there staring at the camera. I close the app and give my wife a call to make sure everything is okay. I never get to call them on lunch, so in this way it was kind of nice to get to talk to my family for once. It rings a couple of times before she answers with a very groggy hello. It was like she was dead asleep when I called, and she looked wide awake when on camera. Hey, you guys doing okay? Huh? Yeah, buddy. My son's nickname. Came in 15 minutes ago. Seemed scared, so I said he could sleep with Mama for tonight. I'm confused here, since I saw them in his room a minute ago. Literally 60 seconds had passed since I closed the app and made the call. So I responded, wait, so you guys are in bed? Yeah, I fell back asleep right away. Is everything okay? Everyone keeps waking me up. She, at this point, is a little bit annoyed. Hang on a sec, I put her on speaker and bring up the app, hoping I don't see it. When the app loads, I get that pang of intense nervousness in my stomach that I hadn't had in a very long time. Since I was a kid in school and realized while I was eating breakfast a paper or something was due that day, and I hadn't yet done it, my heart leapt into my throat. My wife and son are sitting on his bed looking up at the camera, same emotionless stares as before. Hello? You guys are still in bed, right? Yes, we're trying to sleep right now, actually. Well, I'm looking at the camera and I see you two sitting on his bed. No, that wouldn't make sense because we are in our bed right now. Well, I know that's what you mean, but I'm looking at his bed and you two are in there. Hang on, she says. She's quiet for a second while she brings up the camera on her phone. And I hear this guttural, terrified gasp. Like she sucked all the air out of the room and her lungs filling them to the capacity. I don't hear this kind of gasp from my wife very often. Usually only when she's truly afraid, like during a jump scare in a movie, or one time when we turned our back on our son for literally a second, and he was down by the mailbox, inches from the road. But that only happened one time. I hear rustling of sheets and the line goes dead. Of course now I'm terrified, so I immediately call back. It goes to voicemail, so I call again. I call again, and again, with no answer. Finally, after about 4 minutes, she calls me. I tell you that 4 minutes felt at least like 40 years. Hey, what's happening, I ask. She's absolutely hysterical and crying, and I can't understand a word she says. Stop, slow down for just a second, I tell her. She slows down enough to explain they are in the car driving to her parents. She looked at the camera and when she saw what was going on, she got up and grabbed our son, ran downstairs and out the door, didn't even having time to close the garage. "Don't worry about it," I said. "I'll drive by when I get off and close it. We live in a generally safe neighborhood, so I'm not too concerned the door is up." "You will not go in there," she says. "Hell no," I return. "Why are we on the camera?" she asked. Is it a recording?" "I don't know," I return. "I'm going to keep watching it and see if there's anything I can tell. Do our code words with Buddy." We have code words because we're nerds. We've seen too many pod people in imposter movies, so we decided a long time ago to make code words with each other to be able to tell if one of us was an imposter. We have a couple code words, but we also have a 3-sentence story we recite together, each saying a different part alternatively of each other. I hear her on the phone saying the things we taught our son. He giggles as he says them. He does every time we practice, since he thinks they're a joke and doesn't have any idea of their real meaning. We're both convinced he's our son. My wife then says our part, and I'm convinced she's her. We made up these words as a complete joke to ourselves. I never once in my entire life imagined we'd actually need to use them. Unreal. She got to her parents safely, and it was hard to hang up. I told her we'll figure it out in the morning. Hopefully it was just a glitch in the system. She said she didn't think it was a glitch. When she was running out, she had to run by her son's room, and the door was wide open. There's a little flashing light on the back of the camera that indicates it's connected to the internet. It gives off just enough light that when she ran by, she thought she saw, out of the corner of her eye, a shadowy outline of what could have been an adult sitting on our son's bed. It sends chills down my spine to even think about it. Knowing that they were safe and out of the house is the only thing that kept me at work that night. It was a long 4 hours, but I kept checking the camera every chance I got, and sure enough, there, still sitting on the bed, staring up at the camera with emotionless gazes, they said. I studied them to see if I could tend to any pattern, from their breathing to their blinking. Their breathing was steady and looked normal. It was their blinking that would tell me if this was some kind of bizarre time loop freak accident video or not. I intently stare at my phone to count the seconds between each blink, telling myself, if this is a loop, then their blink should be even and occur at the same time each time. But it wasn't that simple. There was no pattern to their blinking. It was erratic and random. Just as a person blinking should be. The passing hours are what finally sealed the deal that this was not a weird looped video of some kind. My son's window is visible on camera, and I can see on camera that it's getting lighter outside. His curtains kept out just enough light to prevent the camera from exiting night vision, but lets in just enough to be able to tell that the sun is slowly rising. I try to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do before I leave work. Calling the police comes to mind, but I talk myself out of it. First of all, what am I supposed to say? Someone is in my house that looks like my wife but isn't. Worse yet, what if they are entities of some kind, and the police do go over and it kills them or something like that? I decide to tell my coworker about it. He's a firm believer in the paranormal and might have a suggestion. I show him the video and tell him a story. His initial response of, "That's creepy as fuck," doesn't help out much. But he says he wants to go over and check it out. He says we should both see if not my wife will try to act like my wife. And then I proceed to tell him absolutely not. And he says we should at least go to the house even if we don't go inside. Finally I fold, and I agree on that since I want to close the garage anyway. We got to my house and walked around the perimeter first, not sure if what we wanted to accomplish by that, but it felt like something we should do. The curtains were all drawn since nobody was there to open them in the morning, so we couldn't really see anything. I went to close the garage and suddenly had this overwhelming urge to go inside and investigate. It was like I just had to know what was going on. So in we went. We walked through the kitchen towards the foyer where the stairs are. It's so quiet in our house right now, you could hear a feather drop, forget the pin. We stop at the bottom of the stairs and wait a few seconds. I look at the camera again and there they are, still sitting there. I've never been so scared in my entire life. My coworker puts his foot on the first step and I suddenly say stop, as loud as I can. Forget this, we have to get out of here, I tell him. Come on. As I start making my way back out to the kitchen, we hear a large creak in the floor from upstairs, where my son's room was. He has a very loud, creaky board right in the middle of this floor that is almost impossible not to step on. My wife and I are still deciding if we ever want to fix it because it will alert us if he's ever up to no good. When he gets older, trying to sneak out or something like that. Come on, come on, come on, I yell as I motion for him to move his ass. We're out of the house in about 2 seconds. Out on the street, I check my phone. Now, only not my son was sitting alone on the bed. Same blank stare. Not my wife was nowhere to be seen. Holy shit, my coworker says. That was stupid as fuck of us. Do not tell my wife we went inside. She would be so ungodly mad if she found out what we just did. I use my garage door opener in my car to close the door. Before we leave, I look up at the camera once again. And not my wife is back on the bed with not my son, both staring blankly up at the camera, blinking every few seconds. This was all about 4 days ago. Not my wife and not my son are still sitting on the bed staring up at the camera. They haven't moved a millimeter. And we obviously haven't gone back to our house. I don't know what to do. This was a scary story posted by RisingMac on Reddit. And I don't know about you guys if you believe this story or not. But what would you guys have done? Would you guys have called the police? Would you have gone to investigate yourself? Or would you have just burned the house down? Me, I'm not sure what I would have done. But, if there are any young parents listening to this right now, and you happen to see someone sitting in your child's room, staring up at the camera with a blank, emotionless expression, be careful. I'd think twice about going to check it out.